Thanks for joining us here on Service School Stories. Your hosts for this season are Alec Emmert, Service School CEO and Navy veteran,
and Sydney Mathis, Chief Program Officer and former College Admissions Officer. This season will cover topics as it relates to higher education, military service transition, and career opportunities and outcomes for veterans. Join us as we share student stories, inside tips from the admissions office, and conversations with employers actively hiring student veterans. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the podcast. Today, we are going to be talking to some fantastic people from the University of Notre Dame. Notre Dame is one of our VetLink partners, and I came to know Notre Dame as the school that routinely beat the Naval Academy at football. Went 4 years without ever seeing my proud alma mater get a win. So, with that being said, no hard feelings. They're a VetLink partner. They're one of our best VetLink partners. And the people we're going to be talking to are huge supporters of the veteran community. So I'll let all those football defeats pass like water under the bridge and kick off the podcast today. So starting off, we've got Ken Heckel. He's a Notre Dame graduate, a career Army officer, and he's currently serving as director in the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs at Notre Dame. We've got Michael Labbe. He is a Navy veteran, and he is an assistant director in the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs. And he's also a graduate student in the data science program at Notre Dame. We've got Montanna Kirven. She's a 2022 Notre Dame graduate and an undergraduate admissions counselor. Finally, we've got John Noonan, who's a student at Notre Dame. Before he was at Notre Dame, he was a Navy nuclear submariner like myself. He was based out of Washington State. He's currently a double E major, about to graduate, and he's going to be moving on to Westinghouse, where he will be working as an electrical engineer. So welcome to the podcast, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about admissions. And I'm going to go to Montanna first because she works in the admissions office. And we'd like to know a little bit about the admissions process at Notre Dame. What is the distinction between a first year and a transfer student? And how should veterans know which track to pursue? Because many of our applicants have got some college credits under their belt, and they'd like to really understand where they fit in the whole admissions process. So over to you, Montanna.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are great questions and a great place to start, I think. I think one thing to keep in mind about how we read applications in our office is that, like, first and foremost, it's a comprehensive review and a very contextual review. So we are looking at the whole person. I like to think about it as kind of like putting together a puzzle piece, trying to create the image of like who each applicant is as a person, is what we try to do with all those bits and pieces of like the essays and grades and the VetLink addendum, all those bits and pieces coming together. So it's a very holistic process. And so hopefully that gives everyone listening a bit of peace of mind that we are admitting like the whole person, and it's more than just numbers, more than just grades. So that's always a good place to start. When looking at like first year versus transfer stuff, it comes down to kind of credits and what that looks like. So first year students are students who have not really attempted any college credit after their high school graduation. And then transfer students are students who have attempted some college credit post high school. Where that may differ for veterans is when it comes to JST credits, the Joint Service Transcript. Our academic colleges don't accept those credits as transferable. So you have a little flexibility there. If you've only taken JST credits, then you can kind of start off as a first year student because you don't have any transfer credits kind of available. So a little bit more flexibility there. But if you've attempted college credits, then we'd like students to take at least 24 to apply as a transfer student. I think when it comes down to kind of determining like what's the best track to pursue, I think look at your academic history and things like that. But I think like take time to like take stock of maybe how you did in high school. If you're, if you can be considered a first year student, but be honest with yourself about where you're standing on that. I think it is a holistic review and it is comprehensive, but as part of the comprehensive review, we do have to look at academics, and we always make student-centered decisions. So what decisions are best for our students and going to help them succeed the most? And we want, to make sure students are going to succeed academically at Notre Dame. So, if another year of like academics under your belt would prepare you better for college life in Notre Dame, that is great. That's what we're looking for, is to make sure every student's prepared. So if that means, coming as a transfer student, that could be super helpful. And, as admissions counselors, we're always like on, student side. I think, remind people constantly that, like, I'm your biggest advocate. Like, how my job works is, like, I go in a room and I kind of like fight for you and I'm advocating for you. So give me evidence to advocate. Like, if that means, like, you want to come as a transfer student because you didn't do too well in high school, but you went to a college, you had a great first year there, you got A's, you took the right classes, I can advocate and say, this kid is ready, off you, not kids at this point, but like, you're ready to go. Like, you've taken the work, you can do the work. Like, look at this. And I can walk in with that evidence, and confidently advocate for you. So that can be really helpful. So, it's kind of up to each individual, I think, when it comes to vets, is how can you be best prepared to start off at like an academically rigorous school like Notre Dame. How can you kind of best on ramp yourself? But you're always welcome to call our office. I take calls from students, and something I do for vets and don't do for the high schoolers, is kind of talk through your transcripts, talk through what things are looking like, and talk through those different avenues. I'm more willing to kind of like look over transcripts and things like that. So my kind of long-winded answer to that question, but always free to call us and kind of figure out what is best for you. Because I think when it comes to student veterans, those pathways can look so different and be a little unique. So I'm always willing to kind of discuss the particulars of your situation and what that may look like for you.
Oh, that's really helpful, and we'll try to get that contact info in the show notes. Just wanted to follow up with one question. It's more of a technical mechanical question about the process. So, say I'm a vet, and I think that I should be a transfer, and I apply as a transfer. Would the admissions office, and this could go vice versa. Say I try to apply as a first year, I might have a couple college credits under my belt. Would the admissions office ever essentially change the direction of that applicant? Say, hey, you shouldn't be applying as a transfer. You should reconsider applying and apply as a first year, or vice versa. Or is that kind of a set in stone decision that applicant makes and they're accountable for?
That's a good question. I think the first year application and the transfer application are two like completely different applications and different forms and requirements and things like that. So if I receive like a transfer app, I can't just kind of push it into the first year kind of folder, per se. So I can't really move things on the back end, but that's why I definitely recommend, like, come talk to me. We can figure out what is the best pathway for you. Because once the application's kind of in, there's not much we can do except for figure out come like kind of the next round. But obviously, people don't want to wait that long. So being proactive is really, really important. Definitely hard, I think, especially like students leaving. Like their military service as that comes to an end, like that is such a crunch timeline. And so, but being proactive is just the best thing you can do to make sure things like that don't happen. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's really helpful. And again, we'll get that info in the show notes. So
Yeah.
always be proactive.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard, but the most important thing.
yeah, and one more thing is you mentioned some courses here that like good courses people should be taking. Are there any
Yeah.
particular courses you really like to see on transfer applicants transcripts when they're applying?
That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that, because I think when it comes to transfer applicants, taking the correct coursework is the most important thing you can possibly do. The transferability of courses lies with, or like the determination of which courses can transfer. All that kind of power rests with our different academic colleges. So it's not something we determine as an office, but the different academic colleges have laid out kind of what are the courses they're looking for and the requirements that they have. And I think that's kind of the most important thing you can do. So it definitely depends on what students plan to major in. So you can see it kind of all on our website, and it really is outlined. If you want to go to College of Arts and Letters, a lot of different requirements. And if you want to go into engineering, and making sure you're sticking to those requirements is important. I think like one thing we always want to see, because we have like the Notre Dame curriculum has a core curriculum. So regardless of your major, you're going to be taking, some writing and rhetoric. You're going to be taking, a math class, a science. You're going to be taking the full spectrum of subjects. So I think one thing that we're kind of always looking for is like a writing and rhetoric or composition course. That's super important because you're going to be doing that at Notre Dame. And then also, kind of no matter what you're majoring in, like a higher level math. Like I think calculus is always really great to see, especially if you plan to go into a STEM field. Calc is just so important. So I would always, recommend for students calculus and a writing and rhetoric course. If you can get those two and then meet the requirements for your major, you're golden. That'll be good.
Very cool. That's really helpful. And then I'm actually going to kick it to John to hear a little bit about your application story. So did you apply as a first year or as a transfer? And as an engineer, what type of courses, if you were a transfer, did you take ahead of time? And if not, what was the curriculum like when you got to Notre Dame? And how did you translate your experience as a Navy nuke into that engineering program at Notre Dame?
All right. Hello, everyone. First, I just want to say thank you for letting me on the show here. I've been working with service to schools for about 5 years now, it seems like. So it's really kind of cool to get on. What I would say is how I started was I was in Singapore. It was about a year before I was out of the Navy. And I thought, okay, now I have to get serious. I knew I wanted to go to college afterwards and pursue higher learning and higher education. And I ended up emailing the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs. At the time, there was Reagan Jones and Megan Lease working here. And Megan got back to me and said, "Oh, I'm very happy you emailed me this far out. Let's kind of make a plan." We emailed back and forth, and then it was about 1 a.m. in Singapore, and I was like, "All right, I'm ready for bed." And I told her, and she's like, "Well, let me know when you get back to the continental United States." And I kind of stayed in touch with the office there, and they really kind of created action items or a checklist, and you should be doing this, you should be doing this. I also worked with service to schools, and I was put in touch with a man named Mark Powers, who had experience with Microsoft, and he was living in Switzerland at the time. So how it worked from there was anything I was doing, I kind of bounced any questions I had off him during those times. Moving forward, there was a man on board my boat named Tom Catalano, who was an alumni of the University of Notre Dame, and he really kind of pushed me towards the school itself too. So I had a very strong supporting network from 3 different organizations trying to help me pursue and reach my goals. And ND was always kind of my number one during that time. While getting here, I was pretty surprised because I'm an electrical engineering major, and I didn't realize how much that Notre Dame works to create a complete person, I guess is the best way to say it. So freshman year, I took 2 writing intensive courses, which I ended up enjoying. And I took some philosophy courses over my time here, theology courses. Going back to what Montanna said, I had a very grounded opinion of where I was. I knew I was out of the classroom for a long period of time, despite working as a Navy nuke and having a lot of math and physics and chemistry experience. I started back in Calc 1 and basic chemistry, and I don't regret that at all. Getting back into the classroom was more of a challenge than I anticipated. It took me a while to kind of get back into that mindset. If I came in as a first year student, but if I were to transfer, I would say the same things that Montanna said of having a basic calculus course, having maybe a philosophy course, and definitely a writing intensive course are the best courses that you could do to prepare yourself for this school.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's a small world. Mark Powers and I know each other well. Great guy, great American. So glad he was able to help you out. Good stuff. And now we're going to go a little bit more into the military experience, and what you gave was just a good segue as to how that military experience translates into the academic setting. And I'd like to know, what unique skills do veterans have that enable them to succeed on campus? And I was wondering if you could give us perhaps some examples you've seen of that.
Thanks, Alec. And it's awesome to be a part of the podcast today. I echo John's sentiments of our appreciation for the relationship we have with Service to School. It's fantastic. In terms of your question about unique skills, I think for us, Notre Dame as an institution has a long history with military service and connection to the military. So whether it's at the executive leadership level of the university, all the way down to our faculty and staff that are working with these students. We really have a strong understanding of the types of people that our service members are, the types of character that they bring to the university. And for me, like, the resounding characteristic that stands out with every veteran student that we have here on campus that I meet with is this kind of common call to an ethos of servant leadership. So Notre Dame obviously is a Catholic institution, and we're strong in this idea of a call to serve others above self. And that's a shared and common value for those that have served in the military. So I think, like, an inherent attribute of our veterans that are students here on campus is this kind of inspiration and a call to serve others through servant leadership. So, like, that's kind of a grounding connection that they already have with the institution. Then you add on top of that, like, all the other quality skills and attributes that you develop during your time in the military service, whether it's perseverance or grit or determination or being a strong communicator, being somebody like John that has an exceptional sense of humor, who doesn't get stressed out about, situations. Like, he has been there and done that and lived some life experiences that have helped him kind of put into perspective what his academic journey is all about. Yeah, it's absolutely challenging, as he described, but he's been in some hairy circumstances as well throughout his professional and personal life that helped prepare him for the academic environment here at Notre Dame, as well as being a part of the student community and the staff and faculty community. Like, we're a residential campus. We're a medium-sized institution, but we're relatively small. It's a suburban campus. Most students live on or around campus. So, like, having the experience of living on your own, developing relationships, building trust, like, those attributes our student veterans bring to campus help them kind of fit right in to this common ethos of a call to serve others above self. It's a really nice fit, and we're really proud to have our student veterans here.
That's awesome, Ken. And I'm going to ask Michael for his 2 cents on this, because he's a veteran. He's working in the same office of Military and Veterans Affairs, and he's also a current student. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about your experience on Notre Dame, both in working on the staff and currently pursuing a degree there as well.
Yeah, so it was always been a dream to go to a university like this. Notre Dame has been on the top of my school list for ever. I was grew up a Catholic, watched a lot of football, watched Rudy on repeat several times, and it's one of those schools that was always kind of like a goal and did feel kind of far fetched. And then when I applied to the data science program and got in, I was stunned. And it's Notre Dame has really lived up to its name, though. Since I've been a student, they've been very, very understanding of my schedule, because I actually started the data science program that I'm currently in and will be graduating in May while I was in the Navy. And so I was on active duty for a full year, actually, while taking the program. And I can just speak from my experience. It was like, if I had to go on a 2-week underway, the professors worked around my schedule. I was able to watch, Zoom sessions when I got back to catch up on coursework. And everything from the beginning process of my application. Unfortunately, I hadn't heard of Service to School. Otherwise, I probably would have used you guys as a resource. But Notre Dame was just very understanding and just very supportive of my military career. And now that I'm out on the other side, this position kind of landed on the table, and really wanted to kind of be more part of the Notre Dame family, because I was just, again, blown away by my experience as a student. And when I came here, it just felt like home. And so, yeah, this is kind of a match made in heaven for me. Being here, being able to support people like John Noonan and all of our other students on campus, this is just really, really, really cool. And I'm constantly humbled, and I have to pinch myself every time I walk on campus, because this is definitely living out my dream. Just to kind of like touch on some of the skills that military students kind of bring to our university. I know Ken touched on servant leadership, but in addition to that, I don't want to forget about the just the discipline, the time management it takes. Military training really kind of hammers that stuff home. And so, veterans are, I would say, pros at sort of balancing their coursework, extracurriculars, the personal life, really without breaking a sweat, because they've done this, repeatedly in the military. Plus, they're all about, problem solving and adapting to new situations. I've personally gone through a lot, and I know what our service members go through. Just from hearing their stories, it's really empowering and kind of cool to hear. And then they've been through it all, so that they're not afraid to tackle the tough situations and challenges that I think people coming out of high school are a little bit hesitant about. And so they can be very creative in leading group projects and then obviously they have the teamwork as well it takes to really just vibe with their fellow students and making group projects and discussions super productive and supportive. And they obviously bring a different perspective than everyone else. But just kind of circling back to the idea of servant leadership, I think something that translates very well is something like student government, running various clubs on campus, and then just getting involved in community service projects, I think are really good ways to get involved.
That's awesome. That's such a, and actually just real quick, I take it since you're such a big Rudy fan, you must go to a lot of football games.
Oh, absolutely. I will be going to the Florida State game this year, as well as probably Stanford. But yeah, definitely huge football fan.
Awesome. And but yeah, this is just such a great segue, because I want to talk a little bit more about the the veteran student experience, and I'm actually gonna turn over to John again for this. Veterans, we tend to be older than our peers. And I'm really interested to hear about, kind of how that felt, how you fit in with your classmates, like what type of activities you pursued to really feel like a part of the community, even though you kind of came in at a different stage in your life with a little bit different experiences than the vast majority of your classmates.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about this. When I first showed up to Notre Dame, I was a little bit nervous. I knew I was older and not your typical 18-year-old freshman. And immediately from the first day, I was accepted by the group. So I decided to live in the dorms. I didn't push to try to live off campus. I was like, no, I'm going to go and get the full Notre Dame experience. And it ended up working out exceptionally well. I loved my roommates. My roommates' parents and I got along great off the top. And I got involved heavily in the dorm life and all the activities involved with it. Following the completion of my freshman year, my first dorm shut down. So I had to go find somewhere else to live. And then I was worried. I was like, oh, it's the same process all over again. What if that second spot doesn't quite accept me as well as the first one does? And I ended up moving into another dorm, and right away, again, accept it. Everybody loved it. The novelty of it, people wanted to talk about. They wanted to ask me about my experiences while in the military, and accept it right away. I stay pretty involved in different clubs and sports on campus. So in the fall, I do inter-hall football. In the spring, I do inter-hall basketball. I was with the Ultimate Frisbee team for a small little stint too, before I realized they're just too good for me. They're really skilled here. Definitely a lot of time though spent either on the quads, just with friends and people I've met here, and I've really enjoyed that. As for anything else regarding it, I've never had any issues, and I was really surprised. Now I live off campus, and even still, I stay very involved with the community itself. Going back to the classroom aspect of it, or in general, I wouldn't be uncommon for people to come to me with certain issues they're having and want to talk about them too. And have you ever experienced anything like this, or maybe just to kind of vent? I always kind of had this interesting role in the dorms where just people would want to knock on my door and say, I'm having this problem. Do you have any thoughts on this? And I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here and the role that I've played in the dorm life and the various communities that I've been a part of, whether it's also the OMVA, where I helped to participate here, service to schools and hopping on panels with you guys, a little bit with the ROTC group here. It's been very rewarding and fulfilling.
John's actually taking a class in our Naval ROTC program. So, two classes. All right. which is pretty cool. So, he's in there in the class with juniors and seniors. John, is that who you're in there with?
Navigation is sophomores.
Oh, sophomores. Okay, even better. So, there's an opportunity for someone like John, who's seasoned and experienced and has been, in the Navy, being able to come back in the classroom with our undergraduate Naval ROTC mids who aspire to serve and kind of share his experiences with them. It's a really cool aspect of the community here that, as John described, that the students embrace amongst each other. It's awesome.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And so, are your classmates in the Naval ROTC program asking you what it's like to be on a submarine, and are you giving them some sage wisdom from a salty senior enlisted leader?
So they do a lot, and even the instructor sometimes, he was a destroyer officer as well, so he would also say, "Is this true on submarines?" or kind of pass it over to me. And I push submarine recruitment very heavily. I'm just constantly like, "Go submarines, volunteer submarines, go." Still working on getting the first one to sign for it.
Yeah. No, really. Just out of curiosity, how many people from the ROTC program go subs?
I'm not too sure offhand. I think there's about 5 that I know of right now who are seniors who are moving into submarines out of, I think, around 35, but don't fact check me.
Yeah, that's consistent. I had a few very good friends from nuclear power school who are Notre Dame grads, and so I've still got a running bet with a few of them on the results of the Navy Notre Dame game. So I've been losing a little bit to them over the last decade or so. But anyways, but to the point, I'm actually gonna turn it back to Montanna. And one thing that we touched on briefly, but didn't really get into, was the different colleges at Notre Dame, and where you see veterans kind of gravitating towards.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of variety, and I think one of the things that I talk about with students all the time, especially, is we even just in the application process, you're applying to Notre Dame as a whole. And I think, by the nature of how things work at Notre Dame, we touched on just the core curriculum. You're taking a little bit of everything, and there tends to be a lot of changing of minds, I think, especially in that first year, you come in as kind of a first year student. And I think there's a little bit of an expectation, or just maybe not an expectation, but just it happens so often, is that students will either pick up a double major, something that they didn't maybe plan to do, or will change their major. I actually changed my major 4 times as a student. So I was certainly one of those that thought I knew what I wanted. And then the more classes I took as a first year student, I was like, oh wait, I actually love this. I want to do this for forever. And then I took another class second semester and was like, hold up, this is a whole new thing I want to do. So you get to kind of taste everything. So I think if you're a little bit unsure, that's always okay. I think there's a lot of room for flexibility there, which I really enjoy, whether that's picking up another major or changing your mind. I think there's a lot, you've got John, you're doing your electrical engineering, and you have some background in that, which is really great. And some expertise in that. We've got, I think, one good fit, for students sometimes is we have a new school at Notre Dame called the Keough School of Global Affairs. And I think sometimes that really aligns with, what the lived experiences of a lot of our student veterans, and kind of having this global experience, this global perspective. And so seeing some traction there. It is a bit of a smaller cohort because it's pretty brand new. Last year was we welcomed our first group into the Keough School of Global Affairs. But that's pretty cool. And I think if students are looking for something that they feel I think your classroom discussions, and I think one thing that veterans bring that's so valuable is this essential and unique voice, based on your lived experiences, and that is so valuable to the classroom experience. Do not sell yourself short on that at all. You bring such an incredible value to the classroom experience, and I think, John, you touched on that, and the advice you can give to your roommates and your dorm mates and your classmates and all of that. And so I think that can be such, maybe it's a little off topic, but such a thing you can contribute to the classroom. And no matter what major you're taking. So we see vets applying to all different majors, philosophy and theology, Keough School of Global Affairs, electrical engineering, whatever, you're interested in, I think go for that. And I don't know, I'm trailing off a little bit here, but I think there's so many different ways you can contribute to the classroom. Pursue what you're passionate about. Don't be afraid to pick up something new, pick up an additional major, change your mind. I think Notre Dame really encourages academic exploration. And one thing we're looking for in students is that intellectual curiosity. So whatever that is for each individual, I think go for it, dive in.
Yeah, that's really good advice there. And then from a technical standpoint with the application, do you have to indicate a school or a major or anything like that, or is it just a general application? And then you're just evaluated against all your peers.
So yeah, you're applying to Notre Dame as a whole. So we are admitting students into the whole of Notre Dame. With that, because we have that understanding, you might change your mind. So we're not admitting students into any particular program or major, at least for first year students. So you're applying to Notre Dame as a whole, but you will give us your primary intended major, and then you have the space for a couple secondary intended majors, letting us know what your interests are. But you're applying to Notre Dame. And then for transfer students is a little bit different because the transfer works basically however many kind of seats there are available. So there might be like more limited availability and things. So when it comes to transfers, we do ask for students to let us know to kind of apply to a particular program. And that's also to help everyone graduate on time. So making sure you're taking the right classes for your program, then you're on the right track for that program, you're graduating in 4 years. That's really important. So it is a little bit different depending on whether you're a first year transfer student for that.
Cool. All right, that's really helpful, and that makes a lot of sense too. And all right, we're gonna jump over to one other topic that is always at the top of people's minds, especially veterans, and that is the financial cost of college. Now, we all, veterans get the GI Bill, and every veteran wants to know basically how much they're going to be paying out of pocket for school. So, we'd be really interested in getting some perspectives on how much of the Notre Dame tuition the GI Bill will cover. If there are any specific scholarships that veterans may be competitive for, and if you've got any success stories about veterans applying for Notre Dame specific colleges, Notre Dame specific scholarships, that'd be fantastic to hear. And I'll kick it over to the director himself, Ken, to give some information on the finance.
I knew the one about finance was coming to me, right, Alec? Thanks.
Yep.
So Alec mentioned obviously forever GI Bill benefits. Notre Dame is proud to be a yellow ribbon program school, 100% committed to being a yellow ribbon program school with no cap to the number of students that we will bring in and make that yellow ribbon program commitment to. So what that means, for those that are familiar with the GI Bill benefits, going to cover up to the certain amount for tuition for Notre Dame. And then as a yellow ribbon program school, Notre Dame, in cooperation with the VA, will fill the rest of that tuition gap for the student. So tuition free for our Notre Dame undergraduate student veterans, absolutely with that yellow ribbon program, uncapped commitment. And then obviously you've got the MHA entitlements that come along to offset the cost of room and board for our students. I will say, maybe John can talk a little bit about how that lays out into what he ended up spending for room and board costs at Notre Dame. But before I kick it over to him, I'll finish with your question, Alec, about scholarships available. So we work really closely with our Office of Financial Aid to help fulfill the need of the additional need of student veterans. So as they go through the financial aid application process and complete the FAFSA, we sit down with our Office of Financial Aid counterparts and are able to direct resources that are earmarked for military connected students with a need. So we really don't have, robust merit-based scholarships available for student veterans at this point, but we do have need-based scholarships available for student veterans at this point. So as you go through the process of applying and are going through the FAFSA process with our Office of Financial Aid, we partner very closely with them to help identify the existing needs that our student veterans have, and then we work to make them whole, to make attending Notre Dame possible for them. So, like, generally, that's how the institution approaches it. Again, 100% commitment to the Yellow Ribbon program with no cap. We're really excited about that opportunity for students, and they should know that that's always available to them. And I guess I'll kick it over to John, if you're comfortable, John, sharing anything about your experience, managing the finances as a student vet.
Yeah, so as for finances, I've paid about $3,000 per semester while living in the dorms. But while in the dorms, I still get that BAH, so I actually make money overall. It's pretty sweet. I enjoy it. Each semester, I come out like 2,500 a head or so, or 3,000 a head. It's pretty nice.
Oh, wow. And out of curiosity, John, did you work part-time at all, or were you just solely, focused on school and your extracurricular?
Full-time student, solely on school and extracurricular.
Good stuff. And then I know we're undergraduate focused, but I'd actually be interested to hear Michael's perspectives as a grad student at how the GI Bill has worked for him at Notre Dame, and what type of allowances and benefits he's had and how he's been able to maximize it.
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss that. So for me, I did not actually utilize my GI Bill when I was in the service. I decided that I would pay out of pocket. And that was just kind of a personal decision for me because I knew I wanted to retain my GI Bill for further education opportunities later. However, if I were to stay in for longer than I desired, then I would have probably applied for the Navy loan program, because I know that for service members that are looking to make that commitment, that is an awesome opportunity for them. For me, when I got out, I realized that I could use I could still use a portion of my GI Bill because it was something that you could actually apply retroactively. And so I was able to actually just get covered a full year retroactive payments for my GI Bill and still retain enough for a 2-year master's program later. So that was kind of like my sort of mindset as I was getting out. And I don't recommend, it's not for everyone to, take on a master's program while you're in the service. Luckily for me, I had just gotten back from deployment and I was in a really kind of a cool situation where I knew that I wanted to get out within the next year. And the timing just kind of worked out perfectly for me, but I know for a lot of people it doesn't. So I'm sort of a one-off case.
That's pretty cool that you were able to, you're able to make it work while you're at school, and then, make school work while you're in the service, and then parlay that on to moving to South Bend and becoming a full-time member of the community there.
Right. And that's actually one of the really cool things. I'll do a real quick plug on just the data science program because, my professors in the program would appreciate it. So I'll have to send this to them after. But yes, they, like I said, very supportive, very understanding. If there was a master's program out there for service member, it would be the Notre Dame data science program because it is meant to be taken in conjunction with a full-time job. It is part-time online. You'll have 6 credit hours per semester. And I mean, it has just been again, phenomenal. So I couldn't recommend it more for those of you who sort of want to take some of the benefits of working in business, financial benefits of working in business, while also maintaining your work-life balance. And I know for a lot of people, as they're transitioning out of the military, they want to keep and uphold their same quality of life that they're used to. And this is a great way to do that. So.
Now that's fantastic, and I'm sure your professors will appreciate the plug, and you might get a bump or two in your grade as well. I'm sure not that you'll need it, but anyways, but I'll actually I'll stick to you because I've got a question about some programs at Notre Dame. I know there's a new initiative y'all have on campus, called the peer-to-peer sponsorship program. And I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that and some other unique programs on Notre Dame's campus that veterans can take advantage of and how they can use those to really thrive on campus and, make the most of their time at school for both them and those who have families as well.
Yeah, I'd love to discuss more about that. We haven't actually come up with the official name for our peer-to-peer sponsorship program. That is what we're calling it right now, but the name may change. We also are also looking into possibly incentivizing the program for those who participate and meet certain wickets along the way. But no, it's really cool. It's a really cool program that we actually were inspired by Ohio State to create. They have their peer-to-peer mentorship program that they call it, that we kind of like wanted to sort of build off of and make our own. And Ken and I have been in discussion with numerous departments around the university to make sure that happens. We are looking at a launch date of August of this year. And so for those of you service members who are going to be starting in the fall, we hope to roll out this program for you. But basically what it entails is matching you with you incoming veterans and military connected students with upperclassmen sponsors based on things like service affiliation, shared interests, backgrounds, and maybe even academic goals. And then these sponsors basically will become your mentors and guides for helping you navigate any campus resources, get around to classes, get your your certificate of eligibility for the GI Bill, and help you kind of like getting your living circumstances under control as well. And so, all the students who join the program get to attend our, we first have our orientation, which will help kind of like acclimate you into the program. And then we'll get you all the resources that you'll need, any academic advising, career counseling. And then, we'll connect you with services from the VA and like any other, am I missing anything, Ken?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're doing a great job kind of detailing all of the mechanics and things like that. I mean, essentially what we're trying to do with this peer-to-peer sponsor program is be intentional about how we create a robust and inclusive military connected community. So the idea would be familiar to veterans in a sponsor program. When you move from one installation to the next or one base to the next, typically you have somebody at that unit that's there that welcomes you in and it makes you part of the community and, shows you how to get to the base exchange or the commissary or, where's the best school system to put your kids. Like that kind of sponsor model is what we had conversations and learning about, as Michael mentioned, what Ohio State does really well. And so our goal is similar. We just want to try to find a way to put some structure around what had been happening pretty organically here with our student veterans. And that's, create this inclusive, vibrant military community in a deliberate way. So whether it's helping with housing or your certificate of eligibility or figuring out how to get around campus or where to live, or as you get underway in your first year, whether you're a freshman student or a transfer student, this sponsor will help you connect with academic advisors. If you're having issues centered around mental health and wellness, University Counseling Center, Student Health and Wellness Center, eventually Career Development Center, like all those kind of services that are available for you on your journey as a student here at Notre Dame. The sponsor is there to kind of help walk beside you as a new student veteran on our campus to ensure that you're connected, you have access to the resources, and you have a partner. You've got a sponsor with you to kind of help you move through this new experience. So that's what we're trying to do. We're pretty excited about it. If John wasn't graduating, I'm sure he'd be on the hook to be a sponsor and welcome in a veteran. But we already have, a few of our student veterans that will be rising juniors and rising seniors who have committed to doing this when we roll it out. Ton of support from the university leadership. They kind of understand the importance of creating this intentional framework for our non-traditional student veterans. And thanks, I should say to partners across the higher ed space that have OMVA-like offices like ours. Everyone that we've contacted, we've kind of gone through this discernment process over the course of last year of what can we be doing better here at Notre Dame? How can we learn? Like everyone that we've reached out to, whether it's Ohio State, U Chicago, Villanova. I mean, Michael spent a week down at the Student Affairs Professionals Conference in Louisville, where a lot of these folks came together. I mean, it is an awesome community of practice of OMVA-like organizations across higher ed So thanks to them for sharing their ideas, what's working for them on their campuses, and allowing us the opportunity to learn from them and shape some programs and some initiatives here that fit well for what our student veterans at Notre Dame are looking for.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, another thing that I think is really cool to note that we do, and I'm not aware of anyone else who does it, but the host family program is a very cool resource to provide support and kind of a sense of community for our military connected students. So we'll actually, if you're interested, match you as long as you're military connected, and that can be veteran, ROTC, or dependents. We'll actually match you with a family in the Notre Dame community that lives within 20 miles of campus and provides just kind of a warm, welcome, and comfy environment away from sort of the stresses of student life. And so that's obviously something that is kind of unique to us as an institution. We provide that. I don't think anyone else provides it besides the academy. So,
and John's been a part of that program, right? John, you have some experience working with like our Notre Dame alumni, Notre Dame families in the community who have welcomed you into their home while you were here.
Absolutely, and the biggest two of them being Steve and Cindy, coming over for the last couple of years for game watches.
Yeah, so there's no shortage of folks, like Steve and Cindy are alumni that happen to live in the area, but we've got, a good number of staff and faculty here at the university that are veterans themselves or just passionately care about the service of our veterans, and they volunteer to, essentially welcome these students into their home, have them over for barbecue, cookout, take them out to lunch on campus or a cup of coffee on campus, give them a ride to the airport if they're stuck, or, it's just another touch point of folks in the Notre Dame community that care about our student veterans and want to be a part of their student experience. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you really create a community there that sets veterans up for success, and I love it. So from the peer standpoint, you've got people who look after you. You've got the programs coming. You've got a program set up where they've got that family support, and then also from a financial standpoint, they're looked after as well. So couldn't really imagine a better setup for a veteran to get into than what you all are offering. So we've been talking for a while. So as we start to wrap things up, I want to close with one question to each of you, and you can, it's the same question. I'll go with John first, and then he can pick the next person to answer it. But so Notre Dame's, an iconic university. Most of us have heard of Notre Dame well before the college process, just from, like y'all talked about, movies like Rudy, from football. It just being one of those schools that everybody knows about. Everybody's seen pictures of the dome, the touchdown Jesus, and all that. And so I'd like to hear about, from that kind of image to reality perspective, and kind of a quintessential Notre Dame experience when you walked onto campus. So when you think about having always dreamed of going to Notre Dame, then stepping on campus, what's kind of one experience you could share with our listeners that was really a quintessential Notre Dame experience where you're like, wow, this is just pretty cool?
So I absolutely love this question. As a vet, as a first-gen college student, just Notre Dame always seemed like this mythical spot to me. And truthfully, I didn't even know where it was. I didn't know it was in Indiana originally. And when it came down to it, my first time being on campus was after I was accepted, moving into my dorm. And while here, it was a bit overwhelming. I was like, wow, I made it, right? This is what I've worked so hard for. When I joined the military, I knew that I wanted to go to school after with Notre Dame at the top of the list. And really kind of the quintessential experience was definitely my first home football game. That's such an environment, despite even the COVID year, freshman year, still the campus's atmosphere was electric at that time. And I absolutely loved it. And I never got sick of it over the 4 years that I've been here. Every single home game, I would say that's like the quintessential. It doesn't get any better than that. Montanna, since you recently graduated, you go next.
You got it. Yeah, I also, like John, I really didn't know about Notre Dame. I didn't know where it was. I really didn't know much of anything. But But like, as a lot of, good Catholic students do, you feel obligated to apply, even without knowing maybe much. And so that was me. And I remember, like, I think one experience that comes to mind is actually, so I was admitted to Notre Dame, and I was on the rowing team in high school. And so we was at the Crew Classic in San Diego, where I'm from. And the Notre Dame men's rowing team was there. And I walked up to them afterwards, and I was like, oh, like, by the way, I just got into your school. And they were like, oh my gosh, congratulations, all this stuff. And then I figured I'd never see them again. And then when I was visiting campus as a student trying to figure out where I was going to go to school, I was in the dining hall, and one of the rowers recognized me, and he goes, oh my gosh, Montana from San Diego. Like, how's it going? Like, come sit with us. Because the rowing team, you have dinner together, a team dinner together every single night. And he's like, oh my God, sit down with us and join us. And then when it was so crazy that he recognized me. And when I came to Notre Dame, I ended up joining the men's rowing team as a coxswain. And that truly became like my family on campus. I think like the people of Notre Dame make it so incredible. Like, they're just so generous. I think that was such the quintessential Notre Dame experience, just running into someone in the dining hall and have them know you and welcome you in and have them sit with you. Like, in hindsight, I was like, oh, that's Notre Dame. And I think like that little moment was really what encouraged me to call this place my home. And then, the people that you meet, your teammates, your classmates, like that becomes your family. And this place really does feel like home. So I really owe it to the men's rowing team of why I'm here and why I loved it so much for my entire time here. So shout out to them. But yeah, that was really my quintessential, I think, Notre Dame experience, or at least my first one that I really realized just how much of a special place this is with special people.
Very cool. All right. Well, we'll kick it over to. I'll tell you what. We'll go to Michael.
Yeah, thanks for the question. First of all, this is awesome. Awesome question. Yeah, I think for me, being in the data science program, we have these what are called immersion weekends. Every fall semester, we come to Notre Dame, and it was actually just so happened that I had just gotten back from deployment like the week prior. So this was kind of like just like a very kind of coming home cool trip with my dad. Actually took my dad with me. I was one of the few students there with a parent because I knew that as special as this was for me, it was just as special for him. And luckily, they actually allowed us to walk onto the football field, and seeing my dad's face light up, alongside mine. This is just kind of like a kid's dream, to be able to walk on that field, that legendary field where so many great football players have played. And then I would say the second to that is we actually have a God Country Notre Dame inscription above our church, east side of our church door in the basilica. And I think that feels so like historic and just kind of like a legendary kind of quintessential part of Notre Dame, is that they have such a deep rooted relationship with the military. If it weren't for Navy, Notre Dame probably wouldn't be here today, or wouldn't be what it is today, at least. And that goes back to World War II. But as far as like quintessential Notre Dame, yeah, walking on the Notre Dame football field and God Country Notre Dame, you can't do better than that.
Absolutely. All right, Ken, you got to take us home.
Save the old guy for last, huh? See how far back my memory goes. So I got a bunch of moments, but the one that I would share is the one that my parents would share if you asked them as well. So freshman orientation weekend, which is now called Welcome Weekend, on campus with both my mom and dad, walking from the Golden Dome, the main building, over to Hesburgh Library, which everybody knows is Touchdown Jesus. So like two of the iconic places on Notre Dame's campus. We're walking across campus, really across North Quad. And obviously, like, my parents are starting to get emotional. It's the last day that they're here, first son leaving home to go to college. And the three of us were just walking together, and out of nowhere, up, from behind us walks a Holy Cross priest, puts his arms around my parents and says, don't worry, mom and dad, we've got your son. We'll take good care of him. And then off he went. I'm getting emotional, thinking about her telling the story, but off he went on North Quad to probably go and have the same conversation with another family who's kind of going through that same moment. And to me, like, that is the essence of the ethos of servant leadership. That is the fiber of Notre Dame. That's a memory that always stuck with me.
Wow. No, that's so powerful. And there's no doubt from this conversation that that Notre Dame is such a special place. I'm definitely going to try to make a trip there to campus very soon. Probably watch Notre Dame beat Navy. But
game, yeah, absolutely.
But listen, I just really want to thank you all so much. We'll put all the the relevant contact details and information in the show notes, and hope to really communicate just how special of a place Notre Dame is to our applicants. And I think that you've done such a great job of that. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much for having us. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Alec. Thank you, Amanda, for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was awesome.
You both.
Thank you. Go Irish.
Thank you.
Go Irish.
That's all we have for this episode. Join us next week, same time, same place, where we share more Service to School stories. Service to School Stories is hosted by Sydney Mathis, Chief Program Officer, and Alec Emmert, Service to School CEO. Our podcast is produced and edited by our Director of Communication, Amanda Tobias. Service to School is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free college admission support to transitioning service members and veterans. Join us next week and follow us for more on your favorite social media platforms.